first 30 minutes of each council meeting are reserved for public speaking. I ask any member of the public who wishes to address the council this evening, please do so about an item that is specifically on the agenda, and you must be a resident and a taxpayer of the city of Danbury. So with that, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak to the council? Yes, sir.
Back on Town Road. And Your Honor, I would appreciate if you would indulge me and allow me to speak on the department report for Green Homes, which is the City of Danbury's appointment for homelessness in the City of Danbury. I think most of you know we are outside living in Hampton for 2 weeks. And I want to assure you that there's no exploitation of the homeless going on. I think I've been involved in working with the homeless even before Mark was made, about 20 years now. But also that there's no politics involved. I'm no longer on a town committee. To the best of my knowledge, no adversary of any sort is running for public office this election, and I doubt during the next election either. But you need to know that during the winters, I staff an income hold program where folks waiting to get into our emergency shelters come to stay warm. And this March, a group of homeless individuals circulated a petition because they wanted to know what happened to the 10-year plan. They took the petition to the News Times, and nothing ever occurred as a result of that petition. So I wrote an op-ed on April 15th, the day 2 of our overflow shelters closed, kind of trying to bring people's awareness to the fact that when we only have Dorothy Day in the city shelters operating, there are only 39 emergency beds in the city of Danbury, for about 182 homeless individuals, according to this month's report in the Green Homes report. So I thought that was a real problem. So we did those 2 things. In May, we went to the Danbury Housing Partnership. We spoke with them. They said, Lynn, nobody wants to build affordable housing in Danbury. We're above the 10%. You should go talk with the churches. So on May 14th, we went and spoke to the board of directors of the Association of Religious Communities and asked them to get behind trying to raise this to be a higher priority. After that, in June, we went to the regular monthly meeting of the Continuum of Care. Those are all of the organizations that provide services to the homeless here in Danbury. And still couldn't get a response. What has happened to that 10-year plan? So we have made a fact sheet.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to leave some for you to have. But basically, the plan originally called for 15 units of permanent supportive housing in the first year, 20 units in the second year, and 30 units in each of the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, adding up to 275 units. And 150 of those units we're going to serve households with 2 or more persons, but 125 will serve individuals here in Danbury who are single and really can't qualify for family housing. If you want to get into family housing, you have to have a family. That's one of their requirements. The resource of the fact sheet also shows you the resources that are here in our state for this kind of housing, and that's listed for you. And the state of Connecticut has a goal of having 10,000 units of supportive housing by 2016. They have 5,000 already. Don't we want to see that kind of housing here in Danbury? It's your tax dollars, but they're being spent everywhere but here. The other thing on your fact sheet is cost effectiveness. Does it really save us money to provide this? It certainly does, so I want you to look at those numbers. But most important thing, if you look on the back, it has the bed night numbers for the dates of November 15th to April 15th. And it's staggering. We had 6,225 bed nights in the overflow shelters and Dorothy Day, the non-governmental emergency. 6,225 bed nights. The city shelter had 2,408. Now, if you provide, for instance, housing for just 2 women, Annie Orr, her numbers, 874 women's bed nights across the street. If we housed 2 of those women in permanent housing, the bed nights would drop to 532. So you can see that it will make a big impact on the homeless population that we're struggling to serve in emergency housing. But outside too, folks are circulating petitions. We have lots of signatures already asking you to make the 10-year plan for permanent housing, supportive housing, a higher priority, especially now as you're beginning to start the long-anticipated revitalization of the downtown. We don't want our downtown to resemble the Bowery in any way. I mean, seeing numbers like this, you have to be concerned. And we don't want our library to be the facto day center for homeless individuals. I encourage you, Mark, I'm 100% behind you on this issue. We don't agree on a lot, but your plan is good. I'd like to see it accomplished.
This is my night.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public? You're in our office so much, we're going to hire you. All good.
I have spoken to Trustee John on numerous occasions.
We just need your name for the record.
Oh, Vice Pick out
And your address?
55 Town Road. 55 State Street. I just moved there.
55 Station.
I'm on the welcome. I want to see, and I talked to Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Shepherd on length, but everybody should have that see. It shouldn't be somebody off the street that we have this morning, a couple of people, one passed away from cold, and the other one was made to go outside the other day, or snow, and you just live on the house. I stress the fact that we need.
Just come a little closer to the microphone. Just get this thing.
I stress the fact that we need the support of housing. I talked to Mr. Shepherd and Mr. Baldwin. There's a lot of people that need this deal that have lost it because of the economy that goes on. You know, I've offered a building here that I'm not going to mention it, but I've talked to the owner of it, and I talked to Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Shepherd at length to make subsidized housing and family housing on the 2 upper floors. There's 55 rooms in this building. I've done my homework on it. I've been to Manchester, Connecticut, seen their subsidized housing in this building. If we can give them a way forward when it comes to those things, then maybe we can move this back. I'm not a radical person. I'm somebody that I plead with you as partnership with. I did a resident in the whole life. I want all of us to get together and just come to something that united in some kind of program that helps these people that need help. Not the ones that don't want it, the ones that need it. Those are the ones that I'm really concentrating on. I've seen the fight in the street. Mr. Baldwin, he saw me back in 2005. He had my son. And my son had a speech about it. He was the one that showed me some different things. So I believe him, and I stay with him, and I appreciate it. And I just hope this body here can start from that direction. Give people something that they really start with now. Get rid of the depression. Housing is the first part in the depression. That we don't live
Any other members of the public wish to assess? Yes, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Mark Regan, and I am a current resident. My current residence is the front lawn out here on homeless. And I would like to request that we approach this subject from a perspective not of Democrat, Republican, or Independent, conservative, or middle of the road. With a consensus, the fact that it's a common denominator value of our society to treat human beings with at least as much respect as we treat homeless dogs and cats. The city appropriates in the current budget $266,000 to help homeless dogs and cats. The homeless shelter is provided mainly with federal flow-through money, and it is accommodating only a small percentage of the homeless. If you go out and meet some of the homeless outside, you'll find that they're generally formerly middle-class citizens who, because of health problems or lack of insurance, divorce, an addiction problem of one type or another, or mental illness, or some other similar kind of problem, have had their lives devastated, just exactly like a homeless dog or a homeless cat. And I just ask that you approach this situation with an open mind and dispel any prejudice against the homeless, and just try to see what we can come up to with a consensus, form a committee with some charitable and religious nonprofit organizations as well as government agencies, and do something to help them, please.
Thank you. Mrs. Waller.
I wanted to address number 3, but I understand it's been withdrawn from the agenda. And I want to thank you for doing that since the public had no access to see what it was. I'm really glad you had removed it. Number 4, the sale of land on Rockwood Lane. I don't know. I don't think we should be buying this piece of property, and I don't think we should pay $20,000 for it. If the gentleman wants to donate it to the city of Danbury, that's fine, but I really don't think that we should use it for, use Danbury's money to do that. And I'm also probably going to step in it, but I want to thank you for what you have done already for the homeless and for the helping the people. Partly because I know you have done a lot, and I know the situation's wrong, and I know we have different types. We have donated to free ourselves down there. But I would like to see some of this encampment go to Newtown and Brookfield and Bethel and Litchfield and some of the other towns that I don't know even do anything. I talked to several other towns, and they don't do a darn thing. But they're having a problem with Danbury, who does try to do something. I want to thank all of you for what you do. Maybe it is possible to do more, I don't know. But as our taxes go up, we end up getting closer and closer to being homeless ourselves. So thank you very much for what you do.
Further discussion. Mr. Guthrie.
I'm Dr. Ignatian Road. I was also going to speak on number 3, and I'm happy that you moved that as well, because CG the other day, that's what it was about. That we didn't know, so glad it's not there, so we don't have an opportunity to do that later. Number 4, Rockwood Lane. I find Rockwood Lane kind of humorous only because a few years ago I stood up here and urged the council not to sell a piece of land on the end of Rockwood Lane for $20,000. That we weren't sure what was going to happen with it later on down the road, and how there is so many city parcels in that area that eventually, if we kept acquiring property, we could wind up with one of, say, Jack Howowski's trails going from Lockwood Lane all the way down to Bridget Park. I think it's a good idea to look at this piece of property, the 4.7 acres. I think I agree with Ms. Waller to see if we can get it either cheap or donate it, but I don't think we should just take it off the burner. I think we should take a good serious look at it. You know, it is landlocked, it is on a waterfront area. You know, there could be some environmental issues there. And later on down the road, if we do not look into purchasing or acquiring this piece of property, would there be development, would they need easement, or how do they get to the landlocked? Because I didn't know you could actually landlock land, but I'm not a attorney in that area. So I mean, these are all things like preventative medicine that we should look at. Number 5, the entertainment licensing. I think we need to look at that a little bit more. In my opinion, there's some vague areas there, and it's kind of a slippery slope. Talk about noise. Yes, we don't want to have ruckus, loudness that's going to disturb everybody. But on the other aspect, we don't want to look at areas to where how do we enforce it? Do we need to hire more people in various areas? Are the police going to be diverted from things that need to be done in other areas to enforce things with this? So I think we need to look at that a little bit more and fine tune it and really get a good sense on it. Number 6, believe it or not, I think it's a great idea. I think it would be good to lower these fees towards businesses and such that want to come downtown and want to develop and want to bring back downtown Danbury, bringing down the fees to, for the inspections, the fire inspections, and the building inspections, etc. I think it's a great idea. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into a developer coming in and wanting to exploit those fees for some project that we don't see that fits our plan of development, like we've seen in some other areas. Number 18, I'm almost done. Number 18, the blight ordinance. I've already spoken on this many times. I still think it's open to a lot of interpretation. I think it needs to be tuned down a little bit. It needs to be pinpointed a little bit more. Like I said, thankfully we have a good man in that position now, and he is willing to work with people, and he has had a good history of doing that, Mr. Stillman. But if he was to go elsewhere, or the position was filled by somebody else, the way the ordinance are read or written, it's kind of open to interpretation to where it could wreak havoc towards us and possible legal issues. So I want you to look at that. Also, I'd like to see maybe more of that blight ordinance be brought more towards developers that tear up areas of Danbury and just leave it in rack and ruin for 5, 6, 7 years. And we have instances of this on Flatwood Bridge. We have instances of this on Hospital Avenue. We have instances of this right down in downtown Danbury. And lastly, number 20, Belimo Air. I think it's a very good idea that we give 7-year tax abatements to corporations and companies that want to stay here and provide jobs and income, etc., not for residential development. The only thing in reading it, I believe the 7-year tax abatements to go for improvements and expansion. But last week at the ZBA meeting, they pulled their application. So I don't know if we really should look, is that 7-year tax abatement towards the thing that was going in front of the ZBA for the expansion? If it is, maybe we need to take more time and pull away from it and see exactly what they're doing. So we don't have, like we've had in other areas where we've had tax abatements given, and then the terms kind of changed after the fact. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council this evening? We've got about 5 minutes left. Mrs. Mitchell. Good to see you. Happy summer.
Eileen Mitchell, 19 Rockville Avenue. I don't know what I want to talk about is on the agenda, but I know that at the last news time said an article about people coming up here and talking about noise. I'm frustrated. My backyard is Dawkins Park. PA systems. The PA systems are louder in my house than they are in the field. I have a 22-year-old son that suffers from migraines. I got home from work the other day. He was in the throes of a migraine. I walked over to the Westerners and I asked them kindly if they could do something about the noise. It was 78 decibels in my house. It was 62 at the field. I had a decibel meter that we have to use at work. We have to keep our race cars at 86 decibels from 10 feet away. That's what we have to do because there are towns that have noise ordinances. You cannot run a race car. You can't mow your lawn in Lakeville. You can't run a leaf blower in Lakeville on Sunday. They have enforceable noise ordinances, yeah. So you can't do it. All I'm asking, so I did go over, Mr. Schaefer was very nice, he walked up to the top of the building, turn the speaker. PA systems are for the people that are there. I don't give a crap about these games. Now, I love baseball. Don't get me wrong, I like baseball. Back to the bat or the crowd, fine, but don't force it on me. If you're gonna have a PA system, point it at the people that want to hear it. Okay? I don't need it in my house, and my son doesn't need it. The other thing is, I talked to Mr. Murray, I think it was, at the highway department, the public works, or somebody over there. Garbage pickup at 5 o'clock Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning. It takes them 37 beeps to back up to the garbage pails at Rogers Park at 5 o'clock in the morning. All I ask is 8 hours of quiet. The park closes at 11. There shouldn't be anything happening before 7 a.m. in the park. No dragging of the fields, no golf carts, no 37 beep, 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 beep. Because, and to put up with this, we get to pay them double time on Sunday morning so that they can pick up the garbage on Sunday morning. And oh, by the way, just to let you know, yes, Mr. Perkins?
No, I'm just taking notes.
That PA systems at the women's field, I've been a member of the Danbury Women's Softball League since 1967. In order to get our fields in up at Hatters Park, there's an ordinance that says no PA systems. So we'll fuel for the fire, I think it's great. In 45 years I've been playing softball and at a lot of different levels. I don't ever remember being announced. I don't know why it would have to be announced. The only people that care about the game are sitting there. Let them hear it. And of course the women can't, because we've been thrown out of Rogers Park and you can't use PA systems that happen. So, thank you.
Got 1 minute left. Anybody else? Real quick, Mr. Anderson?
Frank Anders, 9 Terra Way. I'd like to compliment the Blight Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee. I think they did a wonderful job. I'm hoping that all this will translate into actual evidentiary results, things that we, the public, can see. I look at the house at Wilson and Deer Hill, and I feel so sorry for those owners, particularly the ones that are trying to sell their homes right now. It's just really sad. Again, there may be things going on behind the scenes I'm not aware of. I hope there are. But I hope that translates into something we can see. Same thing with the old Amphenol, the old whatever, the property down Kennedy. The same thing up at the end of the hospital. Things, situations where people have wanted to make a difference in the city, but for economic reasons had to stop what they're doing. But what they've left behind is perhaps something that could be improved upon if we want to make a really beautiful downtown Danbury. But again, compliments to the Ad Hoc Committee. That's it.
Ms. Sanders, that concludes our public speaking for tonight. We appreciate everybody's comments as always. With that, Mr. President, we have the minutes, please. Mr. Knapp. Minutes, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, switch things up on me without Mr. Seabury here.
I actually got tripped up myself. I'd like to make a motion that we waive the reading of the minutes as all members have copies, and copies are on file in the legislative assistant's office.
Second. Made and seconded by Mr. Neguseth. Any deletions, corrections, or changes to the minutes as presented? Seeing none, then I'm sorry, minds in favor. All those in favor of acceptance of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Legislator Leader, may we have the consent calendar?
Thank you, Your Honor. Consent calendar, July 3rd, 2012. Number 2, receive the communication confirming the appointment of Carol Turner and Laura Switzer as alternate members to the Commission on Aging with a term to expire October 1st, 2015. Number 8, receive the communication and adopt a resolution affirming non-discrimination agreements and warranties as required by Connecticut General Statutes, Sections 4A, 60A1, and 4160AA1. Number 9, receive the communication and adopt a resolution to apply for and accept funding through the LOSA program for Fire Department Engine Company 24 building renovations not to exceed $17,000. Number 10, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury Health and Human Services Department to accept increased funding from the State of Connecticut Department of Health. The grant award is for skin cancer prevention program administered through the school-based health centers at Rogers Park and Broadview Middle Schools. Total funding is $23,490 with no city match required. Number 11, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury Health and Human Services Department to accept funding from the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health. This allocation of $95,646.08 will be used to promote programs within the Health and Human Services Department. There is no local match required. Number 12, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury to approve and submit the city's annual action plan for program year 38 projects and a Section 108 loan guarantee application for infrastructure improvements. Available funding totals $534,449. No local match is required. Number 13, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury Fire Department to apply for and accept funding from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security through the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The requested funding through the Assistance to Firefighters Grant will not exceed $500,000. If awarded, FEMA will fund 80% or $400,000 of the total grant award. The city is responsible for 20% or $100,000 over a 2-year period. Number 14, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury Health and Human Services Department to accept the amended funding from the State of Connecticut Department of Social Services. Contract number 034-ES-23/10DSS3701GT is now $200,623. The monies returned to DSS are approximately $29,852. This refund was due to the state denying several requests for improvements to the emergency shelter. Number 15, receive the communication and adopt a resolution allowing the City of Danbury to enter into an agreement with the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services to serve as the custodian of a mobile communications vehicle as described in the memorandum from Deputy Commissioner William P. Shedd. Number 17, receive the reports of the Planning Commission, City Engineer, and Corporation Council and approve the sidewalk easement Palm Trees Plaza, LLC, Palm Trees Road. Number 18, receive the report of the ad hoc committee and refer Code of Ordinance 10-99 to 10-106 and 12-34 to a public hearing. And number 19, receive the report of the ad hoc committee, hold oak sidewalk easement, and approve the license agreement as presented in accordance with the required permits, stipulations, and recommendations of the City of Danbury department heads. And execution is subject to the satisfaction in content or form of the corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Legislative Leader. What is your pleasure, Council? Mrs. Stichels.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Negashek. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition to the consent calendar? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item 1, please.
Communication, appointment to the police department. Dear council members, I hereby submit for your confirmation the appointment of the following individuals to the position of police officer. Mr. Thomas Generakos of Danbury, Connecticut. Mr. Generakos is currently employed as a medical laboratory technician at Danbury Hospital and has served in this capacity for the last 9 years. Mr. Generakis served on the active duty in the U.S. Air Force for 6 years and earned the rank of Staff Sergeant E6 as a medic and lab technician. He continued to serve in the Air National Guard since leaving active duty and holds the rank of Master Sergeant and has been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan a total of 11 times since 2003. Mr. Generakis' current rank on the police officer eligibility list is number 4, and it is anticipated that he will attend the Connecticut Post Training Academy beginning July 16, 2012.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, Counsel? Mr. Sadi?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we accept the communication and approve the appointment of Thomas Generakis to the position of police officer for the city of Danbury.
Second. Motion made and seconded by Mr. Wetmore. Any discussion about the appointment of Mr. Generakis? Seeing none, then I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Mr. Generakis, congratulations. City Council, myself, we want to welcome you to the best police department in the state of Connecticut. We're very proud of the hard work that they do. You've got a hard-working chief and great training people with Mike Georgios and the team. And your wife was one of my students, so you know I didn't have much choice on this one.
Also, my father-in-law Steve and my beautiful daughter Courtney.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your service to our country. It's greatly appreciated. It's our honor to employ you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second appointment is Mr. Anthony Remis of Pauling, New York. Mr. Ramos currently holds the position of Patient Access Associate / Financial Liaison with the Danbury Hospital and has served in this capacity for the last 5 years. Mr. Ramos attended Western Connecticut State University, where he completed coursework in justice and law administration. Mr. Ramos' current rank on the police officer eligibility list is number 13, and it is anticipated that he will attend the Connecticut Post Training Academy beginning July 16, 2012. The above individuals bring a broad range of valuable skills and experience to the Danbury Police Department. They will be a tremendous asset to the department and to the citizens of Danbury. Thank you for your consideration of these appointments. Sincerely, Mark Houghton, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, Counsel? Mr. Visconti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the communication to appoint Mr. Anthony Ramos, Pauling, New York, the position of police officer in the city of Danbury Police Department.
Second. Made and seconded by Mr. Perkins. Any discussion about Mr. Ramos' appointment? Seeing none, I'll try your mind. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Ramos. On behalf of the City Council, we want to welcome you to your employment with the City of Danbury. We're proud that you stuck with the process. It took a little bit of a while to get you to this day, but we'll keep you very busy on or about July 16, 2012. And again, you've got a great training team behind you. You've got a family led by our chief that will support you through this whole process. And I certainly look forward to seeing you work on the streets about 9-10 months from now. So, congratulations and good luck to you. Do you have any family in the Islanders?
Not making it here today.
Okay, congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item 2 was on consent. Item 3 was withdrawn. Item 4, Madam Clerk, item 4.
Item 4, communication, sale of land, Rockwood Lane. Dear City Council members, the attached letter from Mr. Edward N. Johnson seeks to sell the city 4.77 acres of landlocked land that abuts 3 city-owned parcels. In order for you to consider this, you may refer the request to committee to various departments such as Engineering, Planning, Assessor, Corporation Council, or both for review and advice. Sincerely, Mark D. Boughton, Mayor.
Pleasure, Council. Mr. Wetmore.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to refer this to an ad hoc committee, including Corporation Council, the Director of Finance, the Assessor's Office, and a report from Planning.
Ad hoc committee shall consist of the following: Councilman Taylor, Councilman Haddad, because he's not here, and Councilman Rotella. Madam Clerk, item 5, please.
Communication, entertainment, lease ordinance, code of ordinance, section 11-6 and 12-74.
What's your pleasure, council? Mrs. T?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to refer this to a public hearing followed by a committee of the whole.
Seeing no objection, and so ordered. Madam Clerk, item 6, please.
Communication, downtown incentive package, Court of Ordinance, section 11-2, 6-02, 11-7, and 17-7.
What's your pleasure, council? Mr. Garcia?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to refer this item to an ad hoc committee consisting of Corporation Counsel, a representative of City Center, the Director of Economic Development, the representative of the Mayor's Office, and Director of Planning.
And that committee shall consist of the following: Mr. Darcy, the chair, Mr. Cabo, and Mr. Nero. Madam Clerk, item 7, please.
Communication, Danbury Aviation Lease.
Pleasure, council. Mr. Levy?
I'd like to refer this to an ad hoc committee, the Plan Commission, Corporation Counsel, Director of Finance, and the Airport Administrator.
And that committee shall consist of the following: Mr. Knapp, the chair, Mr. Skozafovic, because he's not here, and Mr. Rotella. Items 8 through 15 are on consent. Madam Clerk, item 16, please.
Resolution, proposed intersection and safety improvements for Newtown Road, which is City Project 11-24. Dear Mayor, Department, City Council members, through the Housatonic Valley Council of Elected Officials, which is the HVCEO, the city submitted an application for funding under the SDP Urban Program to improve safety and address capacity concern on SR 806, which is Newtown Road and Old Newtown Road. Proposed improvements include widening approximately 1,600 feet of Newtown Road and realigning the old Newtown Road approach to Newtown Road, as well as improvements to 500-foot section of Newtown Road between Eagle Road and Industrial Plaza Road. The project is in concept stages and will move to design stage after the state receives a resolution of support from the City Council. Sign up the project will be completed by 2015/2016, and construction should be completed by 2017/2018. Since the project is improving a state-owned roadway, the funding ratio is 80% federal and 20% state. No municipal funding required for this project. The estimate for this work is $9,500,000 without any cost to the city. Public Improvement Program guidelines require that a public information meeting be held to solicit public comment on the project. The public information meeting for this project was held on May 15, 2012 at 7 p.m. in the City of Danbury Council Chambers. Some property owners attended the meeting along with some council members and city officials. No negative comments were received by the public. At this time, the City Council resolution supporting the project is required to be submitted to the state. Enclosed for your review and action is a resolution prepared by Corporation Counsel's office. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you and best regards. Bruce Demola, Director of Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you please, your counsel? Mr. Cabo.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's make a motion to receive the communication and adopt the resolution with regards to the proposed intersection and safety improvements, SR 806 Newtown Road, Old Newtown Road between Eagle Road and Industrial Plaza Road, SDP Urban Program City Project number 11-24, and authorize you, Mayor Marty Bowden, to check documents and other submissions as may be necessary for this application.
Second. Second, Mr. Cabo, second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion related to the application? Mr. Sada.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to say I had the opportunity to attend the public hearing. I want to thank our Economic Development Director, Mr. Tamala, as well as the Public Works, Engineering, and Legal staff. Those who were there was a great presentation made. While this will create some disruption, it's much needed. The state engineers as well as the city staff really explained everything in great detail. And as somebody who lived and worked for many years and commutes on that road, as many of us do every day, we know it can be a pretty dangerous place with a lot of rear-end accidents. So I think it's much needed, and some state projects tend to take a little while. This one seems to be moving along, so I want to thank the city staff for that.
Thank you, Mr. Zadi. Any other discussion? Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello? Is this working? You're on. Through you to Mr. Aguilar, I believe, or someone who may be able to address this question.
Mr. Aguilar, please.
Does this road improvements address the Plum Trees Road area between those two different strip malls?
No, it doesn't. I think you were at the public hearing.
I was there.
Yeah, it doesn't go that far. Project limits stop prior to that.
Okay. I was just hoping it did, because there are a lot of accidents coming in and out of those two places.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, then I'll try your minds. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17 through 19 were consent. Madam Clerk, item 20 is actually a report, correct?
Item 20, ad hoc report, deferral of assessment, Limo air controls.
Mr. Cabo?
Your Honor, if I could, I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, as all members have copies, and copies are on file in the legislative assistant's office.
Second. Motion made, seconded. All in favor of not reading the report, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll now stand a motion to adopt the ad hoc report made by Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to receive the report of the ad hoc committee and adopt a resolution and agreement to defer increase in tax assessment to the Limo Air Controls, Inc. on improvements to real property at 33 Turner Road, Danbury, Connecticut, pursuant to the provisions of law and the agreement.
Motion made by Mr. Knapp and seconded by Mr. Visconti. A discussion on this particular item. Mr. Vitale, and we'll go right on.
Thanks, Your Honor. To begin with, I'm in favor, generally in favor of the agreement, certainly in favor of the principle of having the Limo stay in Danbury, increase its production, and hire more people. It's a good idea. We're lucky to have it. If we go back just a bit to the previous agenda item 19, which was the originally easement for all load, there is a section here, section 1 on page 19.2. It says the city hereby grants a non-transferable revocable license to the licensees to allow Old Oak Restaurant to use the property described below for purposes of providing additional restaurant seating, etc. What that essentially means is the agreement going forward is revocable at the discretion of the city. I don't see anything like that in the Limo air control, and I won't be asking for one this evening. But it does bring up a point, I think, moving forward when we do enter into these complicated multi-year tax abatement agreements with private partners in the city of Danbury, for the city of Danbury, for the employees and for the taxpayers, that I think it would be advisable, at least, to look in the future for some sort of language in the parent ordinance, again, not in this one, in the parent ordinance, that would give the city perhaps a little bit more control. If at some point down the road, and again, this is not unbelievable, we're talking about the parent ordinance that controls this, if our partner has troubles down the road, we are not saddled with a 7-year or a 5-year or a 3-year deferral for a company that's now in a different business. I noticed in one of the resolutions, let's see if I can find it. No, it's probably a phone conversation. But if I could, through the chair to Corporation Counsel, if Mr. Pinder could address at least a little bit why he thinks that this agreement is essentially going to be held fast by both parties. And certainly the city of Danbury is not about to back out of it. What's going to happen if down the road there is some issues with the present applicant? What recourse could the city have?
Mr. Fellow, the answer to that question is that unlike on the 19, which you had indicated involved the license agreement, license agreement is a lower level agreement that is terminable by the city. In certain cases, not terminable except for 30 days limits and others. In the case of a tax deferral, the parties come together with much more comprehensive negotiations and commitments and with real reliance on each other during the early part of the arrangement. A party, for example, has to commit to coming into a community. The community has to commit to having a partner come in. The agreement, deferral agreement in your packet, is actually a little stronger than the ordinance that even is present, that the clause you were referring to, which exists in the overall package, which will be signed by the parties, indicates that the tax deferral recipient has to agree to two things, essentially, and that's number 2 in that agreement. They have to agree that they will maintain the use that they promised they would do in the original application that was approved by the planning department and by the city council, and also that they would maintain the design criteria and specifications that also they originally came in with. So that's probably the linchpin of what you're most concerned about, and we all are most concerned about, which is what if somebody changes the game after after halftime, for example. And there's a couple of reasons why that won't happen. Number one is because of those commitments made, we will know, because there are certifications required by city officials, including the planning director, the building official, and others, that they have complied with what they promised to comply with. And secondly, there are, in addition to paragraph 2, there's some other commitments that they have to make that they will keep in order to maintain the tax deferral that they requested. So there are fairly decent commitments and promises built in, safeguards. If we look at the ordinance, we may be able to impose a couple more, tighten it up a little bit, maybe bring that clause from the agreement into the ordinance. It has been used for everybody, so that strength is already in this agreement as well as the others before. So I hope that answers.
Okay, if I can follow up. Yeah, and on page 24, you've got section 3, subsection B. You mentioned basically this agreement will remain in effect as long as the applicant, the use remains in authorized use by section 1825 of the City of Danbury Code of Ordinances. This may be amended from time to time. Is that a fairly narrow use ordinance, or does that give the applicant a broad range to pick up several businesses which may not have been considered during this particular ad hoc?
The use is permitted in that section allowed for office use, manufacturing use, or industrial use. And this applicant came in with a manufacturing use for air controls. So that's what they committed to. That's what they were given, or would be given the approval based on. If they switch to a different manufacturing use, they would violate the agreement. If they submitted a completely different plan, if they changed their minds entirely and did, for example, a retail complex, for example, that would be a violation in that circumstance. But basically, the 1825 provides the parameters, and they're within those as long as they maintain the use that they committed to.
Okay, and you're comfortable that 1825 essentially keeps them well within the parameters?
Within the box, yes, within the box of uses permitted.
All right, thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Rizal. Any other discussion with Mr. Perkins? Mr. Shinisi, I'll keep working on that.
Do a corporation tax, if I may, Your Honor?
Yeah.
On 20-4, number 2, about it states that about the certification by the planning department. It mentions in there that GE Capital shall be liable for the increase in taxes. Who's GE Capital in this transaction?
That may be a scrivener's error, so we'll have to correct that. This applies to the
Should be moving on.
We apologize for that. Thank you.
Good catch.
We never make mistakes, but in case they're fine.
Good catch. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Ron. Good evening, Mr. Hunter. I'd just like to follow up on a comment that one of the public speakers made. You mentioned something about an application being pulled. Can you just tell us anything about that?
Let me address that, if you will. Let me just be clear, because there is some confusion on this. Molino is not using the existing Novo building. They're level in the building, that's gone. So I think some people are under the impression that we're going to rehab the buildings out there. That's not happening. What the question was is the height of the building may or may not have needed, a new building, brand new one, may or may not have needed a variance. It was determined after Molino had done some preliminary drawings, and they did. After refining those drawings a little bit more, they realized that they didn't. They felt within the within the zoning regulation now, so they just withdrew the variance because they don't need it. That's basically.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Any discussion on this? To your side.
Thank you, Your Honor. Previous council people and Corporation Council addressed many of the concerns I had, and look forward to seeing DeLimo, which is a great corporate neighbor and important city of Danbury, expanding. In addition to Councilman Latello's concerns about the actual employment, use, and design, which seem to be addressed in this, there's one thing I just want to put up for the purposes of consideration by the council going forward in these types of situations is strongly encouraging. I know many of the corporate neighbors that get these tax breaks and deferrals do this, but that they seek local vendors, local labor first, if at all possible. Local taxpayers are supporting us, the city's supporting them. We hope they stay here, and we hope they can spend and reinvest that money locally. I'm a little hesitant to ask that to be written into agreements without a ordinance that has passed some legal or constitutional muster and has been vetted significantly, because we don't want to impose a restriction that may push companies out of Danbury, but just something to consider in going down the road in conjunction with some of the other issues that were brought up tonight. With that, I would absolutely support this. DeLimo's been a good corporate neighbor, and it's a benefit to our city. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other discussion? Mr. Cotter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to thank Mr. Tamala and Mr. Shepard and your office for
3 years. 3 years.
You work on this endeavor. It's always great, and I said this at the ad hoc. It's great to see businesses wanting to stay in Danbury, wanting to expand in Danbury, and make the investment to buy property and not lease it as much for permanency. Very happy to see that. I also was advised that the ad hoc that Danbury is one of the city's largest employers of people from ability beyond disability, and I applaud them for that. And we're grateful that they've chosen to stay in Danbury, and looking forward to working with them as they move forward and expand their business here. And let's hope others follow suit with them. So thank you to your office. Thank you, Mr. Shepard. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cotter. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any negative? Motion carries unanimously. We go up to Mr. President, department reports.
Your Honor, with regard to the department reports, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the reading, and all members have copies. The copies are on file in the legislative assistance office.
Motion made, second by Mr. Perkins. Discussion on the department reports. Mr. Piscotty.
Thank you, Mr. Sally. Thank you. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to Mr. Stillman. I had to contact him, some neighbors complained of property in Mountainville, Southern Boulevard corner, and I don't think it was 2 hours later that the neighbor called me back and said, "Who did you contact?" And I said, "Well, it wasn't Ghostbusters, but I guess it got done." Not 2 hours later, everything was taken care of, and I really appreciate that.
Any further discussion on the department reports? Mr. Curran.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to commend the Public Works for the great job they did on the Middle River Bridge. And we did it ahead of schedule, and great job, guys.
And your budget as well. Sort of. We really don't know what the real budget was. Believe me, sorry. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the Health Department reports, they have a reference to the Dream House Community Center and some outlines there, and I would ask, in that item 11, we appropriated additional funds, and I was also looking, and I see that we do an additional substantial amount of in-kind services. As a matter of fact, our health director and the support staff for all of the homeless shelters, that we've made quite a commitment here in Danbury, and I would like to hear you, Mr. Mayor, expand a little bit on exactly what we are doing. I know it seems to some it's never enough, but certainly when we look at the surrounding communities, we're absorbing their problems as well. We can't be in total denial that they have no homeless at all. We're taking up that gap as well. And, some would take the position of not to do anything with the homeless at all. We have to deal with residents of Danbury, and we have to take care of our own and others that visit the area. And I know that we've done a lot, and I wish you would expand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Levy, for the question. We appreciate your thoughts. We have done a remarkable job at servicing a very difficult problem in the Danbury. I think your points are, Mrs. Waller to left, but her points were spot on earlier, that homelessness is a regional problem. And as such, it requires regional solutions. And the notion that only in Danbury we can solve the 500,000 population region is simply not really possible. But I did include on the dais for you, you may have a copy of this, but it gives you kind of a breakdown of the facilities that we have in Danbury. I just want to just throw out to you that the homeless beds that we show at the top, not all of those have been created since the inception of the plan. Some of them were prior to the plan. If not, I'll get you a copy, Mr. Nero. But it gives you, for example, there's 160 beds on any given night, not counting our overflow shelters. Since the start of this administration, we've actually added 2 shelters. We had the New Street Shelter and the Dorothy Day Hospitality House. We now have the Jericho Partnership Shelter, which is open now, as well as the Winter Music Congregational Church, which was renovated with the advice and assistance of our engineering department, Leo, Sean, and a whole bunch of people that helped them convert that. On top of that, we have been very helpful in putting through some transitional, supportive, and permanent housing. And since the inception of the 10-year plan, we put 115 units online. 115 units online in the worst economy since the Great Depression. Now, could we use 300 units? Sure. But at some point, too, we have to ask that our surrounding communities provide the same commitment towards this problem. It can't just be a Danbury problem, because you're never going to ever make a dent in it. We have to see affordable housing in other communities. And there's 10 towns in the Housatonic region. There ought to be 10 sets of affordable housing, 10 sets of 10-year plans that they're working on to handle their fair share. But just quickly, for example, Renaissance Place, many of you know, is the old High Ridge Gardens up above Bell Ridge. For the first time ever, we're using Section 8 vouchers to help pay mortgages. So those people that were paying rents, we've now been able to convert those vouchers into assisting them in a mortgage payment. And by the way, those are brand new condominium units, and they're beautiful. I know Barry T helped a lot in that. Since 07, Samuels Court, 28 units of transitional supportive housing were put online that provides direct care, wraparound services to people that are there that are dealing with substance abuse issues. 16 units of Sunrise Terrace. Stetson Place, we're now using the Section 8 program. First time we've ever gotten HUD to agree this to allow them to use towards homeownership, where we're offsetting the cost of the mortgage with the Section 8 voucher. We also, Victoria Meadows, which is 25 plus units, Bob Vitell's property, we know Bob. There are mental health. He has a lot of other mental health issues. Many of those units are dedicated to people with mental health issues that also happen to be homeless and have homelessness issues. So we've done a tremendous amount in a very short amount of time to meet the 275 goal. Keep in mind, we've got 6 or more years to go, or 5 more years to go in the plan. So, at this rate, we'll just about hit our mark in terms of units on it. Here's the problem, though. Since August of 2008, when the market crashed, the problem that was once like this is now like this. So, we have a lot more transitional people that are flowing in and out of the community. It's not uncommon where I talk to people every day from other parts of the country, from other parts of the state, that come to Danbury because they know in this area, we are caring and compassionate for them. But it can overwhelm the system from time to time. There's no question about it. So we're excited about it. Homeless Partnership, the Housing Partnership meets every month. They're public meetings. We welcome you to attend them if you've got nothing else to do in the middle of the day. We have some, I think, Mr. Shepard will, for the next couple of weeks, like I said, with some certainty, we'll be announcing another supportive housing complex that will be built in the city. So we're working hard on this issue, but it's a vexing, difficult, challenging issue.
You know, I, like many members of the council, serve on volunteer committees. I know that one of them I serve on is the Salvation Army, and we've seen a 30% increase on people making requests to the Salvation Army. And the same people that used to donate are now the recipients of the donations. It's a state we're in, and I'm certain that the number of foreclosures, I think that the mayor has pointed out, which is the largest number of foreclosures we've ever seen in the history of this community, all bears on the fact that we have a homeless population that exploded way before this plan went into, was approved. So that we all have to step in and do our part. And I'm glad to see that the Jericho and some of the other organizations have stepped in to be a partner with Danbury. Thank you.
Any other, Mr. Rep?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Antonio and members of Public Works for the work we're doing over at Havertz Park on the expanding parking lot, addressing the major parking issue for many years, the use of the softball fields and doing it in-house is really appreciated. We're out there. And also mentioning Reservation Department summer movie nights on the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th at dusk. And the work that gets done there is a great program year after year for people to go and enjoy them.
It's a lot better than our skating. There's a big complaint about your mountain thing, and just who counted on second-degree weather in the middle of February? Thank you, Mr. Rundle. Mr. Botello.
Thanks, Your Honor. In watching on the 6th Ward in recent weeks, I've been approached by generally elderly people who have expressed a certain feeling of unease, if not fear, about this purported crime wave that's sweeping the city. And while I tell them that I don't think things are any worse than they've ever been, and you know, it's July, the weather's nice, get outside and enjoy nature. I'm looking at these departmental reports, the City of Danbury 2012 Uniform Crime Report, and I see that robbery is down 50%. Assault is down 10%. This is year to date. Burglary is down 10%. Car theft is down 40%. I do see a bump in regular theft. I'm not exactly sure what regular theft is. That's up 15%. But if there's a crime wave with drug-addled desperados riding motorcycles hiding behind every corner, I'm not only not seeing it in the 6th, I'm not seeing it in the statistics. So if Chief Baker could speak on this briefly, just to sort of clear the air here, are we going through a period of an unusual criminal activity, or is this just something that's been overly reported in the news? Is this more a question of perception, or is something actually going on? I have to tell you, not only am I not seeing in your statistics, it looks to me like you're reversing trends that were up last year and that we're now down in the right way. We're heading in the right direction.
We're fortunate in Danbury that there's not a lot of violent crime, and it is a very safe city. What drives our crime is property crime, burglaries and thefts, and much like last year, when the weather got warmer, those numbers spiked in May. Very happy to report that we had about a third of the number of burglaries during June than we did in May. We had 58 in May. Those numbers are in the low 20s for June. And that's because of public awareness, through groups like this, through the news media. A couple of good arrests for burglary, a couple of arrests not for burglary. We've had some bad people off the street, some good arrests by the state police. And so it's been a real team effort. But what you're seeing is no different than what you saw last year. A lot of these crimes are crimes of opportunity. They're crimes that occur because of warm weather. And if we just lock our doors, keep an eye on each other, we can drive these numbers down. But that's what drives crime in Danbury, is property crime. And we're very fortunate. We're not like a Bridgewater or New Haven or a Hartford, where violent crime is driving crime. So, yeah, when property crime spikes in Danbury, it's of concern. But like I say, through a number of different measures, I think that we quickly got that under control.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Ron. Just to follow up on a comment made by one of the public speakers earlier concerning Rogers Park. We actually had an ad hoc that was sunsetted, and we weren't able to address some of the concerns that that woman actually had herself. We're looking at various aspects of recreation. We're going to discuss noise and also some lighting. What I wasn't aware of was the garbage thing. Can someone from the department address that and figure out where all that noise is coming from the garbage trucks?
Just, I want to make sure I get the question right. You want to know what the backup beat is on the
I mean,
trucks?
she mentioned that there's trucks out there early in the morning on a Sunday picking up garbage.
Yeah,
it seems unusual.
No, we pick up garbage on Sundays.
What time are they out there about?
They could start as early as 5. Yeah, we have to pick up garbage, we have to rake the fields, we have to get everything ready for the first game, and sometimes we start as early as 8:30, 9 o'clock.
I mean, that just seems like a quality of life issue, especially for people who live so close to that area. I mean, there has to be a way to figure out how to, not disturb people up.
Well, maybe I can have them drive forward instead of backwards.
Well, no, what I'm saying is maybe they shouldn't be out there so early, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm serious, maybe I can have them drive forward.
I would say, I think it's similar to those folks that are close to a golf course. And I know having worked at the golf course, my day started at Victor Park at 4:30 in the morning. And we would fire up those mowers, and we would be out mowing, and the residents would scream that they're trying to sleep on Sunday morning. I don't know how you win on that one. If you push it back to 7, and say you can't start to 7, those fields will not be ready. So instead of Mrs. Mitchell being here, you're going to have softball leagues here screaming about why can't you guys get this stuff cleaned up because we're not able to start our games.
Well, yeah, I understand, Your Honor, but I think probably a better approach would not be for some of the department heads to be so dismissive on such a sensitive issue.
I'm not being dismissive.
Well, I mean,
City
you're
Council
taking it
member.
like
I
this.
am telling you that we have a program which involves picking up garbage at 5:30 in the morning. Those people line the fields. If you would like to add additional people on an overtime basis to pick up the garbage
Those people
later,
who
then
have
that's
o'clock is applying overtime anyway.
it is overtime.
All right, so why
But these are the
should
same
be-
people that are picking up the garbage and eventually lining the fields. They tag team and help each other out.
How about this? How about we line the fields first, well, you still got to run the Euro rigs. You still got to run the sand throw, you still got
Well, the trucks still come in with the trailer that's got the equipment to rake the fields. All right, well, I'll see what I can do.
Because it was not taken.
Thank you, Your Honor. I really don't know where to begin on this one. I had to bite my tongue on some of it. I am a neighbor of the person who spoke previously about the 5 o'clock problem. It does exist, it's noisy, but it's not the only one. We have a garbage person who's picking up garbage at 4 o'clock at CBS at their dumpster, and they bang the doors or whatever it is constantly. Is there a reason that you have to do the fields at 5 o'clock? Because living right in that area, I don't see anybody playing softball at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, or the Cal Ripken team playing there at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. I think we need to have some consideration, possibly, to look into that situation where 5 o'clock would be moved up, maybe till 6 o'clock. But it does get noisy, and it is sometimes disturbing to those of us who live in that area.
I will review the schedule and see what I can do, as long as it doesn't involve additional overtime or bringing in additional personnel. And if it does, that's a decision that the mayor can make and hopefully adjust my budget accordingly.
Thank you. Follow up, if I may. The person who spoke earlier also discussed the problem of the noise with the Westerners, and all they did was go down and turn the speaker around. That was really good, because that solves a lot of the problem. There has been, and up until this particular year, quite a bit of noise problems in that area, Rogers Park area. Not just with the Westerners, but the Cal Ripken Field and a few other people, a few other entities that play down there. This year I've been able to talk with Mr. Haddad and a few other people with the Calvin Association. And what they did was basically the same thing. They actually took the speaker down, which was turned towards the Mount Bull Avenue side. And I had received phone calls from Deer Hill where they could hear the noise and the music and so on. And since we've been a little bit more active in getting things taken care of here, it has been a lot better this year. And I do appreciate what the Westerners did for Mrs. Mitchell.
Well, I would ask Nick just to put a reminder out to the Westerners, you know, as the season goes on, to be mindful. Mr. Sadi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just with regard to the sound of the trucks backing up, and not to speak to Public Works specifically or their issues, with regard to other developments that occurred in the ward I represent, some traffic engineers and some of the developers have said that the types of trucks they would use alternate sounds with a different pitch and a lower decibel, but still meet OSHA standards. And I know retrofitting costs money, but just to throw that out there, something that maybe down the road as a phase-in to retrofit with those. The sound doesn't seem to travel as far, but the pitch doesn't seem as annoying. It's more of, I think, a grinding or a lower sound that still meets OSHA requirements, and that may address some of, at least some of the peripheral issues. Just don't put that out there for your honor, Public Works. I don't know if that's a feasible thing down the road.
I know that might kind of sound a little cavalier, but honestly, it might be as simple as driving forward instead of backwards.
They're making a bigger room.
Right.
Put that out there. Some
Yeah, but I do know what you're talking about, some alternating.
Yes.
Yeah, back on the line.
One thing you can't do is disconnect those. Because
You can't, so it's required, yeah.
will give you a ding.
Thank you.
Any other discussion related to noise or anything else? And I'll enjoy your minds. All those in favor accept the reports of the public saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, just a couple of announcements before we adjourn. July 19th is Mary T's birthday. Mary Ty Schultz, happy birthday. July 20th is Bill and Maggie Curran's wedding anniversary. July 26th is Jack and Lisa Knapp's wedding anniversary. As Councilman Wetmore mentioned, we have Candle Town Park Movie Night starting July 7th. So it's a well-attended event. In addition to that, the Korean War Memorial Ceremony is at the Korean War Monument, Rogers Park, at 10 a.m. And then we do need some help, some volunteer help for those folks that are volunteer-minded, if they're at home or if they're here tonight in terms of the audience or the council. We're doing the Dignity Memorial Vietnam Wall, which is a model of the Vietnam Wall. It's a two-thirds scale model will be set up at the War Memorial on September 21st and 23rd. It's a 3/4 replica. It's pretty impressive. We have two co-chair people that are spearheading this project, Eric Tenner and John Malkowski. We're looking for volunteers to help erect the wall, to help man the wall. So it's really actually a big deal to have this in the community, and it draws hundreds, if not thousands, of people to find their loved ones or folks that they knew that they lost during the war. So if you're interested in helping out in any capacity, contact PJ in my office at 797-4511. With that, I'll extend all committees, and I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. Seconded by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Megason. All in favor, saying aye. Aye.